Okay, today I'm going to demonstrate Chapter 1, Level 2 homework assignment. And so you can follow along with this in your book and then and then you need to do it on your own actually. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Blackboard. I already have it open. And here's your Blackboard home page, and we'll go to Weekly Information Homework. And then I'll go to Week 2 because we're in Week 2. And I'm going to demonstrate the Chapter 1 Level 2 assignment. So the first thing I need to do is download the file that goes with it. And this file here is just the way it should look when you're all done with the assignment. So I just gave you a picture of that. So I'm going to open up the data file that I need to do the assignment. And if you get this Enable Editing, do that. Just click on Enable Editing. Alright, so here we have a pretty basic spreadsheet that's kind of been put together, and I'm going to demonstrate how this works. So starting on page 84, it says in cells F2 to F4 calculate the associated annual adjusted salary. So I'm going to click here on cell F2, and I'll make my screen a little bit bigger, so hopefully when you see this you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So here's the adjusted salary. And they want us to calculate the multiplier. So we have the annual salary. So all I'm going to do is hit the I'm going to indicate to Excel that I want to start a formula. So I hit the equal sign, and then I'm going to click on cell C2, and then I'm going to hit the divide, which the divide key is the one above the question mark, or if you are using a keyboard, it's the divide sign on your keypad on the keyboard. I'm using a laptop computer, so I don't have that. So you click on that, hit divide, and then we want to divide by cell. I'm getting a message there. I want to divide by cell D2, so I just click on that. You can see how it's highlighting it, and it's putting the formula over here. And then I want to add, so I'm going to hit my plus key, cell E2 to it, and I'll hit enter. Alright, so I have that in there, and then I can just copy that down. So the way that I copy that down, I can click on the cell, and then there's this little dot on the corner here. And this is the fastest way to do it when you're working in Excel once you get used to it. And notice how my cursor changes the way it looks. When I'm just here in the cell, it's a big open plus sign. But when I click over that little dot in the corner, it turns into a solid dark plus sign, and there's a little dot there. I'm going to click and hold, and then I just drag it down, and it fills that formula down. So you'll notice on line 3, it automatically knew to change it to C3, D3, and E3. If I click here, it's changing it to C4, D4, and E4 up here in the formula bar. Alright, so if I just click on it, I can see the formula. Oh, this is just giving me... There. Alright, I just had to answer that message. Alright, so that was step 1. Oh, we have to do one more thing in step 1. It also says to note that the car payments are given in months. So it has to be E2 plus times 12, doesn't it? Times 12. And then I'm going to hit enter. And since there's nothing as a car payment here, it doesn't multiply that. Now sometimes you have to think about your order of operations. Even though Excel knew what to do here, I'm actually want to show you that if you aren't getting the right answer, you need to put in parentheses what you're wanting to separate. Excel's pretty good at it, but sometimes and I've been using Excel for years extensively, I always check the first calculation with my calculator if I'm doing a big formula and make sure that it's calculating correctly. So you'll notice I just once again copied that down. Okay. So the little plus, the little dot in the right hand corner of the cell, you get different shapes. This is a move shape where it's a four-sided cross almost. That means you can move it. And you can copy when it's a dark-sided plus like this, and I'm just copying it down. Alright, so that was step 2. In step 3 it says in cell F6 write a formula to calculate the average. So the easiest way to do that is to hit your equal sign and then type the word, start typing average, I'm just spelling it out, and there, sure enough, down here it popped up. So once I have that popping up, I just need to double click, and then it opens up, it puts equals average. So equal is indicating to Excel that I'm starting a formula. The formula is average and open parentheses. Now I need to tell it, what do I want to average? So the open parentheses, then I can come up here and I can click the first cell I want it to use in the formula, click and hold and highlight all the way down to F4. You can see that it's putting F2 to F4. Click and held here, dragged down, let go, and then I close the parentheses to indicate that I'm done with the formula. And then you have to hit enter for it to take it. So there it is, it calculated the average, and you can see up here in the formula bar, equals average F2 to F4. Alright, in step 4 it says in cell F7, so here I am, cell F7, it says write a formula to determine the value of the lowest adjusted salary. So, same thing, I'm going to type equals minimum, because the min, and there's my minimum formula, it's the function min, M-I-N. I'm going to double click to take it, and then it opens up the parentheses, and once again I have to tell it where I want it to look. So the open parentheses is ready for a cell placement. So then you just click on the top one, click and hold, because I once again want to average, I want the minimum of these 3 cells. So F2 to F4. I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter, and it takes it. Alright, so that was step 4. Step 5 in cell F8, it says to write a formula to determine the value of the highest adjusted salary. So if the lowest is the minimum, the highest would be the maximum. So I'm going to, once again, hit my equal sign, start typing max. It appears here. I have to double click it. I want to calculate the max of those 3 cells, so I click here, click and hold, drag down, and it's putting in F2 to F4, close the parentheses and hit enter. Alright, so there it calculated. If I had this, you can see, even though we've only got 3 cells here, you could visually see what is the highest salary and the lowest salary. But if you were working with 100 different lines, you can see how useful putting a formula in there would be, because you wouldn't want to have to look through 100 lines of data and try to find the max and the min. So that's a pretty nice way to do that. Alright, it says in step 6, it says in cell G9, write a formula to determine the number of positions that include a bonus. So in cell G9, here's cell G9, and I'm just going to count how many of these there are. So once again, there's a formula. I'm going to hit equals and then count, and here it is. Here's the formula. Double click, and I have to tell it which ones do I want to look at. So I'm going to click and hold and drag down from G2 to G4, close the parentheses and hit enter. Alright, so there was only one that had a value in it, so it's returning a value of 1 there, because that's the only one that has a bonus. Alright, in step 7 it says in cells H2 to H4, calculate the value of the adjusted salary package for each position over a 2-year period, including bonuses. The bonus does not need to be adjusted for the location, and then assume the employee will receive a 3% raise after the first year of employment in the new position. So here's the 2-year financial package. So the way I'm going to do that, here's the adjusted salary plus the bonus, and then I need to add a 3% raise in the second year. So the way the formula goes is I'm going to type equals, and then just take my mouse and click on F2. And you could actually handwrite that in, not handwrite, you could actually type that in, or you can click. So when I'm doing things, I often click because it's faster. So there's the first year salary, plus I need the second year salary. So once again, it's going to be F2, but this time in the second year, I'm going to get a 3% raise. So it'll be F2 times 1.03. So it's 103%, so you get 100% of the salary plus 3%. So you just put that in as 1.03, or you could actually type 103% like that, whichever way you want to do it. I'm going to just type 1.03, and then I have to add in the bonus. So plus 1,000. All right. Now, if I were you, when I'm doing a calculation like that and I have a huge spreadsheet, you could imagine having a huge spreadsheet if you're working for a big company, and I would always calculate the first, I'd check a couple with my calculator to make sure that I've entered my formula correctly in Excel. Now you also, once again, you can put parentheses up here in the formula to highlight, you know, things that you're wanting it to calculate separately. So I'm going to hit enter, and then I can just copy that down. Okay. Now I'm going to check, because I'm thinking I might need to add that F2. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to open that up and see if I've got the right answer. Now we haven't done all of the steps. 87,275. Is that what I have over here? 87,275. So looking good. Alright, so that must be a one-time bonus. I wasn't sure if that was a yearly bonus or a one-time bonus. So I'm checking this to see if I needed to add that into both years, but I don't. It's just one time, a one-time bonus. Alright, on step 8 it says display dollar values in columns E to H without cents and include a dollar sign only on the first columns. So the way that I would do that is, these are all dollar values, aren't they? This is a multiplier. Even though the solution picture doesn't show it to you like this, I'd go ahead and put and calculate that as well. So the way that you do that, you can highlight all of this because it's all dollars. And then you can come up here in your number toolbox and we'll just hit the comma. Then see how it's putting two decimal places? It says without cents, so this is your increased decimals. This one is decreased decimals. I'm going to click that twice, decreases it once, I click it again, and it twice. By clicking it twice, I get rid of the decimal point. Alright, now it also wants me to put dollar. Now here, it doesn't tell you to do that, but I would do the same thing here because it just looks nicer to see commas in numbers. I always like to see the commas in numbers. Alright, then we want to put dollar signs, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold my control key down and I can choose multiple cells. Now since they were all in the same spot, I could actually just click and hold all the way across and it will select all of those cells. I want those to have a dollar sign and no decimal places, so I'm going to click this twice. So there, now we've formatted each column, beginning of the column, with a dollar sign. These averages here, doesn't tell you to do it, but I would clean that up as well. Put those in there as commas. And click this twice so the decimal points go away. Alright, now step 9 is we have to add something to this. And I want you to note when we add this, when we put formulas in these things, and I'm going to add something to the table, this will update. Now be really careful in Excel. If you add in the last line of a formula, these have formulas where the last line is identified, it does not always update. So be careful where you're adding information. And you have to make sure that your formulas update if you add information in a table where you've already identified the cell locations. So in number 9, it says we're adding a position with a $66,500 salary, and they want us to add it. Let me see. Below the other New York position. So here's the New York position, and I want to add it below that. So if I click here, if you're using a computer that has the 10-key keyboard on it, I use this all the time. You hold down your control key, and hit your plus. You have to highlight on the number 3. So you highlight on the number 3 because I want it to go below that. You hold your control key down and hit your plus on your 10-key keypad on your keyboard. Now I'm using a laptop and my laptop doesn't have that. So I'm going to highlight the number 3 and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say to insert a cell. And there it did. It inserted a line. By highlighting that 3, it inserted a line above that so that I have a line here where I can add information. So what is this position called? Let me look here really quick. Senior consultant. So we're going to just call this senior consultant. Okay, and it's in New York. The salary is $66,500. And you'll notice because I'm entering it within the table, it's going to update that formatting, which is a nice upgrade that they did to Microsoft 2010. It didn't used to always do that. It says they have a $1,500 bonus and a cost of living multiplier of 1.4. So I'm just entering all the information. Now I need it to calculate these. So I already have this in here, so I'm going to just copy that down with my quick copy there. Hit the little dot there in the corner, copy it down, and there we go. And you'll notice that these formulas updated, these numbers updated, didn't they? Automatically. So that's a nice thing about Excel too. I entered some data within the information that I was referring to, and it updated all of this because these had formulas in them already. This updated, remember before it was a 1, and now it counted 2 because I was telling it to show me everything from this cell to this cell. Alright, so pretty nice. Alright, it says to in step 10, highlight in yellow the row of the position with the highest 2-year financial package. So we can see really quick, this is the highest 2-year financial package. So I'm going to highlight that. And up here in my font toolbar, I'm going to just click on, I could click the down arrow and choose a color if it wasn't automatically yellow. There's yellow, it's highlighted. It also wants me to, if I hadn't clicked outside of that, I could have done both at the same time, and they want it to be bold. Now notice here, this isn't quite fitting. When I made it bold, it didn't quite fit, and that doesn't look nice. So the quick way to fix that is to come up here. You're between the B and the C, and there's that little line between the B and C column. Let your cursor hover over that. Let your cursor turn into a double-edged arrow, dark, and double-click, and it automatically will adjust that. So some little tricks. Alright, so then we're just going to save this. I'm going to do a file and save as. I'm going to save it somewhere where I can find it. So I'm going to go to documents. I have all of this stuff, all of these folders. Personal, spring 2013, and I'm doing demos. So lots of places, and I'm going to call this position analysis. I'm actually going to call it position analysis demo and hit save. Now the other thing I want you to do, if you haven't figured this out in Microsoft Office, you have these quick toolbars up here, and you can have more than one. If yours aren't appearing, just click that little down arrow there and you can turn them on. So I have new, open, save, quick print, print preview, spelling, undo, and redo. So those are the toolbars. If I, like for example, if I took spelling away, the spelling isn't there anymore. And I click that on and turn it back on, and now I can see my spell check there. So I want to see how this looks on the page before I submit it to me, before you submit it to your teacher. This should appear on one page. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to view it. So here's my print preview. And I can see that it's 1 of 2, which is not what I want. So I'm going to show you how you can adjust that. I want the whole thing. When I adjusted that Pittsburgh column, it probably made it go across 2. There's lots of things I can do to make this fit, but probably the easiest thing I can do is change the portrait orientation and change it to landscape, even though your book isn't telling you to do that. When I do that, it appears like that. But I actually want it as a portrait, and I want to make it fit, and I can see that it's 1 of 2 pages, so I know it's not fitting. Here's the second page. See how it's flowing across? So this is something else that's in Office 2000, Microsoft Office, Excel 2010, is I can do the scaling. So I'm just going to hit the scaling, and I'm going to tell it to fit sheet on 1 page. And there it goes. So then you can save that, and then when I go to look at it, I'll be able to see it right away. Now I'm going to make that smaller. I can hold my control key down and just scroll with my mouse and make those bigger. You've also got this tool down here where you can make things bigger and smaller as well. Alright, so I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to submit it. So remember I saved it. Now I'm going to submit it, and you all have should know how to do that, but I'll just demonstrate it. So I'm going to close it. Here was the demo of it. Okay, so I'm back to the assignment. Here was Chapter 1, Lesson 2. Level 2, excuse me, and so I'm going to just access that assignment, and then I'm going to browse to my computer, Go to Documents, go to the folders where I kept it. I have mine kind of buried pretty deep. Demos, and here's my assignment I just completed. Hit Open, and it shows up here as an attachment. You can write a note to me if you need to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can write me a note. And then make sure you scroll down to the bottom and hit Submit. Okay, so that's all there is to it.